Michael Venom Page wasn't supposed to do this. By beating Jared Cannonier at UFC 319 on Saturday night, he didn't just win a fight, he rewrote the rules of his own career. But what happened in that Chicago cage goes deeper than anyone realizes. This isn't about one performance. It's about what that performance unleashes for Paige, for the UFC, and for every fighter who's been told their style won't work at the top. For years, Paige was the flashy striker who could dazzle crowds, but couldn't crack the elite level. In Bellator, his highlights were undeniable. Flying knees, spinning kicks, walk-off knockouts that looked like they came from a different sport entirely. But the harsh reality is, outside the UFC, even the most spectacular knockouts echo in an empty room. There was a ceiling that no amount of talent could break. The critics had their ammunition. He can't do that against real competition. He can't do that when it actually matters. Saturday night proved them all wrong. Jared Cannonier isn't just any opponent. He's a former middleweight title challenger, a finishing machine who's ended careers and exposed pretenders. Against this level of opposition, party tricks vanish and distance becomes survival. The first round told the entire story. Paige operating from the outside, stabbing at Cannonier with kicks, keeping him frustrated without any real way to counter. When Cannonier tried to work inside and grab the clinch, Paige shrugged him off, like swatting a fly. Then came the moment that changed everything. Paige uncorked a massive right hand that sent Cannonier crashing to the canvas. The flash knockdown wasn't just a strike, it was a statement. Paige taunting Cannonier as he got back to his feet. The raucous Chicago crowd completely on his side. The second round saw Paige unleash another dynamic combination that had Cannonier staggering backwards and stumbling to the canvas again. Paige's speed and variety were giving a former title challenger serious problems without any real ability to threaten back. This is Paige's secret weapon. He doesn't just make you miss, he makes you think in slow motion while he operates at light speed. He cracks the rhythm of elite fighters and turns their game plans into his highlight reel. His stance plants questions. Will he close distance explosively? Will he fade backward? Will he spin into something unpredictable? His timing provides the answers before you can process the questions. Cannonier couldn't do much to hurt Paige in return. Instead, he repeatedly looked to slow down his flashy opponent by pressing him against the cage. That's the frustration Paige creates. He makes elite fighters abandon their strengths. But the third round revealed something crucial about Paige's evolution. With 5 minutes remaining, Paige made his first real mistake. He got more aggressive, slipped, and ended up on his back after a takedown. Suddenly, Cannonier was in mount, then half guard with Paige stuck playing defense. This is where most flashy strikers break, where style gets tested by substance. Cannonier searched for submissions, kimura attempts, arm triangle chokes. He hammered away with inside punches and elbows. Paige was stuck underneath without much chance for escape. But here's what separated this Paige from the Bellator version. He survived. He found ways to slip free from submissions. He weathered the storm when his style temporarily failed him. That's championship-level fight IQ, not avoiding adversity, but surviving it when it arrives. Cannonier's late surge was too little, too late. Paige secured 29 to 28 scorecards across the board. But more importantly, he'd proven something beyond any scorecard. Paige's style isn't entertainment masquerading as technique. It's technique expressed through entertainment. After the fight, Paige was honest. I wanted to push it a little bit more in the third round. He's bloody strong on top. Then came the revelation. I still have a lot of thoughts at 170. This is the crossroads moment. Paige has found new life at 185 pounds. He's now 2-0 at middleweight and likely surging toward a top 10 ranking, but he still wants to return to welterweight. Here's why this matters for the UFC. Paige isn't just a fighter anymore, he's a strategic asset. At middleweight, there are fascinating challenges waiting. Pressure wrestlers who could test his takedown defense, technical strikers who could match his rhythm, and then there's Prates. Prates represents everything Paige needs to prove he belongs at the top. A rising Brazilian striker who's been demolishing opponents with clinical precision. Prates' straight-line power versus Paige's angular creativity. It's the perfect style clash to answer every remaining question about Paige's ceiling. At welterweight, there's the weight cut, but also a completely different landscape of opponents and storylines. The UFC now has flexibility most fighters can never provide. He can headline cards at 185 or 170. He can be the striking specialist or the British star who brings international appeal. Paige represents the evolution of modern mixed martial arts. The old paradigm said you had to choose between style and substance. The new paradigm proves the most successful fighters seamlessly blend both. Saturday's performance wasn't just about landing spectacular strikes. It was about managing distance against elite pressure, surviving adversity when his style failed, winning rounds through consistent execution, not just highlight moments. And now the UFC has a problem every promoter dreams of, a fighter who brings genuine anticipation to every matchup. Fans don't just want to see Paige win, they want to see how he wins against different styles. Will his karate stance handle elite wrestlers? Can his movement scale across 5 hard rounds? And what happens when he faces someone like Prates, a striker who brings the same finishing instinct, but with completely different weapons? That's the fight that makes perfect sense next. Prates is climbing the rankings with devastating knockout power. Paige just proved he belongs at the elite level. Put them together and you get a striking clinic that settles who's the real deal at 185 pounds. Paige is also British, bringing geographic leverage the UFC prizes. A London card headlined by Paige isn't just an event, it's a cultural statement. The ripple effect is exponential. European fan base expansion, international broadcast deals, crossover media opportunities. Most importantly, Paige has learned to modulate his performance. Against Cannonier, every gesture had purpose, every taunt was calculated, every moment of showmanship served the victory. That's the difference between a viral sensation and a legitimate star. Paige is in his late 30s, operating where experience amplifies technique instead of declining athleticism limiting it. While younger fighters rely on attributes that fade, Paige's game is built on elements that sharpen with time. Venom. Paige's victory wasn't just a win. It was validation that style and substance can coexist at the highest level. That flash and fundamentals aren't opposing forces, they're complementary weapons. The question isn't whether Paige has a ceiling anymore. The question is how high he wants to climb and which weight class will give him the best platform to do it. What's your prediction for Paige's next move? Should he stay at middleweight and face someone like Prates, or cut back to welterweight for bigger names? That Prates matchup could be pure striking fireworks, exactly the kind of fight that builds both careers. Drop your analysis in the comments below, and if you want more breakdowns of the fights that change everything, subscribe now, because the most important moments happen when nobody expects them.